A lot of stuff on the mind. Nothing really like movie related because we are still in January. Because there's just nothing coming out in these weeks. So I don't know. But I mean, today was inauguration day too, so there's that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know. Like,
what a cool day that today was. I like listened for a second, just like on my phone, and I turned it off. But really, the big highlight is Elon Musk doing a very, very extremely thinly veiled Sieg Heil on TV, which is absolutely insane. This is the craziest shit.
Yeah.
But it's also like anything that he does, it's the gayest Sieg Heil that's ever been recorded.
Yeah.
And my favorite takeaway was someone who was like, as someone who has a lot to disagree on with Elon Musk, I don't think he was doing a Sieg Heil. It's because Elon has Asperger's, and he was just excited in the moment.
Yep.
So here's the lesson. If you see someone like Sieg Heiling or doing like a goose step or any of those types of things, don't be ableist and assume that they're doing Nazi shit. Check your own privilege. I don't know how that would work.
Yeah, no, that's no. Oh no, go ahead.
No, just what I would like to happen would break terms of service, so I just won't say anything.
Oh, okay. That's like essentially exactly what I said when my wife showed me. She showed me the video, and I'm just like, the way that he does it, I was like, I don't know if that was like intentional. I think he's just a really awkward idiot man. And like, I don't know, you've seen him like dance or jump around on stage. He's very like weird. He moves very weirdly, and like he's like, I don't know, there's something broken with those like weird tech billionaires where like they don't, I mean, it's like it's like an old meme, but it's like it's stuff like that shows how they're like lizard people. It's like they don't know how to like they look like aliens wearing skin suits because they don't move like us. They're
not used to being around people that aren't like serving them directly. I guess if like Musk is not used to being around. I mean, I guess in the case of the inauguration, it's probably more like politicians and people in that echelon. But it's like you go to like a Trump rally and Elon does the weird ass, like he jumps and he does like the X.
Yeah.
And it's such a stark contrast with like all other like normal, like the normal like jug hooters that are there. And it's like, yeah, it's because like if you talk to him in like any situation, he's like, oh, you're not like bringing me something. Oh, you're not working for me. Like, I don't know how to like respond to you or be around you because like I don't have to be around normal people because I have this much money.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, yeah, it's always like incredibly weird and awkward.
Yeah.
Which also like I don't understand Trump then, because Trump is like just as weird. Yeah. Like the song choices, like do you remember over the summer when like the microphone cut out or something, and so they listened to like Macho Man for 40 minutes?
No, I didn't. I didn't see that one.
One of his rallies, like either
songs, but
he loves like the Village People, which is incredible.
Yeah.
But apparently one of his rallies in the summer, like something happened where like they lost some sort of power or the microphone stopped working or they're having some sort of technical difficulty. And I think Trump was just like, let's just listen to some music. And he just like played like YMCA and just like was walking. He was like pacing back and forth on stage doing this occasionally.
His dance,
yeah.
Oh my God.
They're all lizard
awesome.
people. It's funny in a vacuum. He got sworn in as president today, which is
right, yeah.
god awful. But in July, it's like that's pretty funny.
Yeah, right. Yeah, when we still thought like, well, again, not as much as last time, but like, yeah, it's not gonna happen.
Like, not a second time, right? Whoops.
Yeah. Now we're here.
And here we are. Who knows what'll have happened in the 2 weeks after this comes out?
That's a good point. Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. We'll touch back if we're able to.
If we haven't been banned for thought crimes or whatever.
Yeah.
You have been designated woke.
At least he saved TikTok for everybody.
Oh shit. Yeah, I guess so. Again, that's another like Trump W, unfortunately. Like everyone who tried to load that app, the app was like, we thank President Trump for allowing TikTok to come back. And that's
did
like there's
it
so many people
say that?
Yes, it did.
Oh wow.
It did. It really did.
Yeah. That's crazy. That's so fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's basically just a big advertisement for him.
And him and Melania both have their crypto coins now. So, they're just all in on just like finding they're just catching up with. I mean, it's the same like grifter bullshit that he's done his entire life. It's just now he's finally in the 2020s, I guess.
Yeah, 2016 it was like the Trumpy bear, and now it's like he's like, oh wait, we can scam them and also not give them anything tangible. Even better.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, now we can cut the cost on making those bears.
Yeah.
And then it's like, yes, Joe Biden about TikTok, and he's just TikTok, those little mints. Take a breath mint, buddy.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, yep. Thank you, Mr. President, for serving.
Yeah. Time for nappies, pat.
Also, Melania at the inauguration was wearing like this like gangster hat. Like it was like a fedora almost, but it like completely, you could only see like the lower part of her face.
Oh, like old school gangster.
Like, yeah.
Okay.
Where it's just like she's on her way to like a speakeasy or something like that. Or it was bizarre. It was like that meme of like when you see your custom character in the cutscene. Like that's kind of how she was dressed.
Yeah. Sweet. Well, good for them. Proud of us.
Yeah.
Proud of the United States.
Yep. You could say that the United States has taken a
tumble.
Fall from grace.
A stumble. A slip from grace.
Yes. That is the parlance.
Yeah. It's too bad that it's not another word, because we did watch some. Well, speaking of, welcome back to ThereWillBeDuds, ladies and gentlemen. This is episode 171, and I am your co-host, TJ, and with me as always,
I'm Nick.
And as always, we watched a movie. That movie this week being The Fall from 2006, directed by Tarsem Singh, or just Tarsem as he's credited in the movie. It is about an actor or like stuntman and a young girl who are both in the hospital for some injuries they took from fall. Like they both fell, kind of hence the name. So they're both in this hospital, and the guy starts telling the girl a epic fantasy fairy tale story, and we kind of get that the fairy tale takes up like half of the movie, and we kind of go into that, and it's kind of fed by elements of their realities and stuff, and the guy is kind of just using her to assist him in killing himself, essentially. It's a very fantastical movie, crazy like scale of production. It's big on the spectacle. I'm trying to think of how to like put it. It's like it's a very simple story but very grand in scope. Which I think it was one of those where I just picked it up like as a kid because I like the cover, and then just kind of reading about like seeing it and being like, wow, it's so. I mean, that's the one like big thing that I think this movie is known for is just like the visuals and all that stuff. Like, it was like it was 28 countries they filmed in over like 4 years, which is just fucking crazy.
Yeah, and like you look at them and you almost think that it has to be an effect. Because some of these locations are like so naturally beautiful that you're like the I'm looking at a picture of it right now, but it's like the building that's like all the like the stairs, like it's like the various triangles of stairs, and there's like a part where like the henchmen of Odious are all just like kind of running up and down the stairs, and it's like almost mesmerizing. And it's like an optical illusion almost, but it's like, no, that's the actual, that's a real place on planet Earth. Yeah,
it's crazy. Like a lot of it's in India too, so I guess India just has like a lot of really cool architecture. But like, yeah, just some of the coolest fucking architecture you've ever seen. And then even like the natural ones. There's the part, I think it's in the Alexander story, like just that like flat like desert area is really cool. There's like that shot where it's like they're kind of small in the distance, and the like wall, the sand dune wall, just like you can't even see the top of it or whatever. It's insane. And then there's like swimming with the elephants in the reef, and then the like series of staircases, the one where the Indians like wife or whatever kills herself, like that's like his backstory. That thing's so cool. It's apparently like an astrological or astronomical like observatory thing or something like that. But I guess beyond that, you know, there is still a movie like that is not to be overlooked because just of how amazing and cool it is. Just the fact that they did all that, and like every time I watch this, I'm like, God, that would be like, I don't know, other than Lee Pace, I don't know like basically anybody from this movie, like from anything else. Maybe Nurse Evelyn, she's like kind of familiar, but I was like, how, like this would be like my dream, is to just be cast in this one movie and then just get to like travel the world for like.
Yeah, I wonder if that was like a selling point, you know? They're like, hey, if you.
Yeah, we need to, you know, we need to get like 3 shots over here in like Indonesia, so we're gonna go fly there for a few days. Okay, and then we gotta go, because I feel like there's some locations where it's like it's not to be overlooked too, like how well it like meshes together these locations, which are hundreds or thousands of miles apart, but they'll be made to look like the same location, and it's like it's seamless how well it does that stuff.
Because it's like they'll go from one location to another, and you're almost just like, oh yeah, they just walk down the street, and it's like, no, this is like another part of the world. That's in terms of recognizability, the guy who played Charles Darwin was in 28 Days Later.
Oh, is he? Okay.
I think he's one of the soldiers like at the end.
Okay.
Because like when I saw him show up, I was like, I've seen this guy before. He has one of those faces that like once you see it, you're like, it's like he has character actor face.
Sure.
You know.
Okay.
But yeah, the story itself is relatively simple, but I really do like the framing of it. And I guess you can tell me if you thought of it also, but it made me think of the short Bang that you did for Capital City Film Festival
so.
a few years ago. Because it's like this thing where the short in that is that it's like this hardened gangster story, and then it cuts back to reality, and it's like kids playing and coming up with the story. And this movie kind of does that, where whenever Lee Pace is like telling Alexandria like the story, you can hear her voice kind of interjecting, and like sometimes what they say will like change and dictate how the story goes.
I really like all that stuff. Yeah.
It's very funny, and it's like very cute, and adds like a little bit of like kind of brevity to it. I mean, it doesn't really get all that
levity,
dark and levity. Yes, sorry, brevity would be short.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does add a little bit of levity to it, although it doesn't really get super dark until the end when she hurts herself, and he's like very apologetic because. Spoilers, the entire time he's telling her this story as a means of getting morphine because he's a stuntman who he hurt himself, and then his girlfriend at the time basically like cheated on him or left him for like the actor that he was the stuntman for.
Yeah.
So he's just like, who gives a shit? I'm giving up. This is, he wants to die, essentially.
Lost his girl, lost his job, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is all the more tragic at the end when, like, his scene is cut from the movie that they're watching it.
Yeah. Well, yes, but you get that shot of him, like, him reacting to it, and he's, like, okay with it.
Yeah.
If it had cut to him and he was, like, he had like a solemn like look on his face, I'd be like, oh man, that's not good. But I think that's why it shows him like he's still smiling and like enjoying it, like because he like tenses up, right? Because he's kind of like having flashbacks or whatever, and then it happens and he kind of like lets out a like sigh of relief, and so I think that's to show that he's like, even though it just kind of looks like nothing, that's his way of like moving past it, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. Or at least like he's like, okay, I can get back on this horse and I can keep doing this.
Yeah. And yeah, I do think it no, I hadn't thought of Bang, but I like that. And it could have been, I mean, I saw this movie when I was a little kid originally, and I've seen this movie a lot, so I'm sure it maybe could have been in the back of my head or whatever. There's even the stuff that we kind of do. We do that a little bit in Bang, where like the kids react, not just like changing stuff in the story, but there'll be the parts like in this where there's the part where he's talking to Evelyn in the fairy tale, and she's like talking to him, and then she starts like, and she like sneezes because Alexandria is sneezing.
Once I was Lady Evelyn Everhart. Now I'm
Sister Evelyn.
She's not a sister.
Bless you. No, what? Yes, she is.
I don't know. They're like their characters kind of break character, and they kind of do that in Bang too. But yeah, I don't think there is like, I don't think that it is super deep. But I think it still kind of like fits, or it kind of works, especially because like, I think for a long time watching this, I had issues with the fairy tale aspect of it because of how like kind of fractured it is and how light on story it is. But like ultimately that is like the point. It's because he is telling a fairy tale. Like it's not supposed to. There's parts where like they'll just be like, oh yeah, and then he had this thing because that's the thing that he needed at that time. He secretly had this thing all the time, all the while that they found an elephant swimming in the water, so that's how they got the guy who couldn't swim across the water. And then like I also really like the there's like very melodramatic acting, like almost bad acting in the fairy tale.
Yeah.
And then it contrasted like not so with like the more realistic and believable acting in like the real world, to where I don't know if you did like a normal, like, I'm sure it's on the IMDb trivia or whatever. I just know because I've watched this so many times and like the commentary and stuff, but I know that like most all of the stuff with the little girl was like improvised. Like she kind of was like really off the cuff. Like they did a lot of like secret filming of her and Lee Pace, so like that she didn't know that like cameras were rolling.
Because I will say a lot of her, like the way that she would phrase things felt very like little kid like. Like it wasn't like, you know, she rehearsed her lines and knew how to say. She said, "Why? Because that is." Like there'd be certain like little turns of phrase, or I'm like, that sounds very real, and it probably because it was.
Yeah, and it works too, because like she in reality is like, I guess, was learning or had like she was like fresh into like learning English, like she speaks Spanish normally, so that language barrier was like actually part of it.
Why did Alexander didn't go from that buildings on his horse? If he was lost, why did Alexander didn't go from that middle of the buildings, on his horse?
I guess the whole thing with her misreading morphine as like the MORPHIN3 was something that she really did. So then because of that, they incorporated the whole thing with her just bringing 3 pills back. That was all apparently because of the real actress. Good. Yeah. I don't know how much more of it was influenced by her, but I think that's really neat, and like it does. I like that. Yeah, that their conversations. There's a part where, dang it, I can't remember. She says something like twice, and then he asks her a question, and then she says the thing again, and he's like, "No, I know. I'm asking about something else," and you can kind of tell that she's confused and doesn't know. Like she thinks that she like messed up a line or whatever. But
And here is my house.
Oh, yeah?
It was my house.
What happened?
They burned it.
Who burned it?
Angry people.
I'm sorry to hear that. I said I'm sorry to hear that.
Angry people.
Yeah, I know. I'm just sorry. I'm sorry that your house got burned.
Yeah, good kid actor. I think she was like believable.
Yeah,
you know.
I think for the most part, yeah. There's one gripe I have, and it's when when they kind of do a little like soft fake out after Roy takes the bottle full of sugar pills that he thinks is the morphine. And then like you see the body being rolled out on the stretcher, and she like runs out to it, and she's like, "No, please don't go. Please don't go." I don't think that's very good. I think that's pretty bad. But then when you get to like the end where he's like telling her the end of the story and he's like crying, I think she's really good there. And I think it's probably because I feel like a little kid on their own. It's like, okay, go cry. He's dead. He's gone. He's going away. So go cry. You're really sad. As opposed to like somebody crying like directly in front of you. It's easier for you to kind of get worked up, you know?
Yeah. Because I would say like Lee Pace in those scenes is very good, and like like the way that he's like telling the story, and he's like, no, this is my story, and this is how this happens, and it's so funny, the thing that he initially was like using as a means to like get drugs has like taken on this secondary thing where now it's like he's like full-throated into it. And then he gets caught up in it.
We're killing everybody. We're making everybody die.
It's my story.
Mine too.
Even if you don't like fully love a movie like this, you gotta like respect it. Like I feel like it's like one of those that feels like a real like from the heart like passion project, because just because of all the effort that was done into like the filming and everything, but also the one thing that makes me think that maybe more than anything else is I'm like, every time I watch this, I'm like, who is this movie for? Because a lot of it feels like a kid's movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because of like the fairy tale aspect and stuff. And then you got the stuff with like the morphine side thing, and or like it, I feel like the movie could almost be a PG movie, and then there's some like not extreme violence, but enough violence to earn it an R rating. Like there's blood and stuff. There's like the part where Odious like falls back onto his own sword is pretty gruesome.
Just, like, yeah. It doesn't cut away at all.
Yeah.
This it kind of reminded me of like a Guillermo del Toro movie.
That's a good comparison.
Because it's like you watch something like Pan's Labyrinth, which
100%
has like that mystical fairy tale element, which I mean, I will say the imagery in Pan's Labyrinth is still much more frightening than the imagery in this.
Yeah.
But you have this fairy tale fantastical element backdropped with like, what is it, World War II that's going on in that movie at the time?
I believe so, yeah. Or
like you have that scene where like that dude's head gets bashed in with like a bottle, and it's like the practical effect that they do for that is like very gruesome and hard to watch. Watching this, I'm like, this is like if like Gore Verbinski and Guillermo del Toro like teamed up to make a movie, because it has that sort of choreographed fighting and choreographed swashbuckling like epic element to it, and then with the backdrop of like Lee Pace's character, who is, you know, a like, I don't want to say like washed up, but like someone who's essentially like given up on life and is like checking out. And I mean, even in the background, like there are people like that are sick. There are like children coughing and babies crying pretty constantly, where Alexandria has a pretty like chipper outlook on life, but that seems to be pretty rare in like the location where they're at. So it's like the reality sections of this movie aren't like overtly bleak, but it's kind of a bleak situation, you know? Because I was trying to place like the time, because it just said Los Angeles. Did it give a year? Like obviously it's like in the 20s or the 30s.
Yeah,
but I was like,
20s.
I'm like, is there like a plague or like some sort of disease that's going around at the time? But I think it's just like a random like infirmary. It's not really like like a wartime thing. It's just like a hospital.
I think it's just a you know, a populous city. So there's probably going to be a lot of people in the hospital. Yeah. I want to say like early mid 20s, just based on like the look of the film, and then the clip reel they show at the end, if that's anything to go off of, because I recognize some of the like Buster Keaton and Harold Lloyd shorts or movies that they played there, which were from the 20s.
Right.
I kind of sort of went at it before, and I was talking about like transitioning between areas. There were some really fucking clean like edits in this too that I really liked. There was the one where it's in the Alexander story again, and he's in this she's like, tell me more about the story of the man with the horse, and he's like, oh, okay. He's like, well, he didn't have a horse, and he wasn't in a city. He was actually in a big desert, and they're like the camera like spins around him, and he's in these Roman ruins, and then the camera spins and does like a full 360, and then he's in the middle of that desert with like the really high dunes, and it's like it's really smooth. Where I rewound it, and I was like, I'm not sure like where they cut there, like how exactly they did that, because it looks really nice.
Yeah, I did remember seeing that. There were some really cool like scenic scene transitions too that I thought were like really cool. Like that initial island that they're at. I think he's telling the story. I think this is like Darwin's reason for wanting to kill Odious is that Odious sent him this butterfly. But it's a dead one. So he's like, no, like you were talking about like the acting in the fantasy realm, like the sort of like bad acting. I did love that the setup for all of the characters, every time like you learn how Odious wronged them, every single one of them essentially drops to their knees and does like a no!
The night owl,
yeah. But that shot, you see like the butterfly like pinned up, kind of like how you would put it on display, like a scientific display.
With the pins. Yeah.
You see the butterfly, and then the scene transition, crossfades, and like the island is the exact same shape. And I'm like, is the butterfly digital? Because like the island is real. I think that's
a real. Yep, it's actually called the Butterfly Reef. So yeah.
Oh, okay. So they probably had like the picture of the reef for like a guide, and then like
the butterfly around.
So it's like you got to get this butterfly right at this angle, and then it'll like match perfectly.
Yeah, and then
there's like another
one really
one,
long, like slow, like zoom into it or whatever.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
There was another one with a guy's face.
Yep, the like priest guy or whatever.
Yeah,
and it goes into like the rock. Yeah, I was thinking of that one too. Because that's another like really similar one where it'll transition and then like sits on it and then does like a really slow like push in on them from there. I just remember just skipping around again. Another like really just like out of nowhere brutal moment is in like the building where there's like the chandelier made out of like people.
Oh yeah,
that's like something out of fucking Hannibal.
I thought I had the exact same thought.
Yeah.
Like, because it's like this beautiful, brutal architecture of human bodies.
Yeah.
It's very, very stark, very like
backwards
shocking.
And like,
Yeah.
Oh.
When the mystic eats that paper, I thought that was another, like, I couldn't tell if that was a real place or like another one of those like tricky scene transitions, like the Roman thing into the desert where they're like running and then they just go downhill and it's just like the most lush green, like grassy foresty area, and I feel like they were like just at the desert and then they just go downhill and it's just like like this oasis almost, where again it just seemed like out of reality.
Kind
of a hard movie to find.
Real. Yeah, apparently I didn't know this, but last year there was they did like a 4K restoration. But prior to that, I guess it was another one that just for some reason didn't really have much like modern support. Like I have the DVD of it from years back, but I think there's Blu-rays of it, but they were like printed very limited, so it has always, it's just been one of those that's been kind of hard to find in like good qualities. He approached Criterion about doing it, but I guess they just didn't seem interested. But this seems like
which
perfectly suited for them.
Yeah. I love that Charles Darwin is wearing like this pimp coat.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre.
Yeah. And then when he's not, he's dressed exactly like one of the droogs from
Clockwork Orange.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. He's got like the little like bowler hat or something.
Yeah. Something I noticed kind of not almost like accidentally. Probably just because maybe this name didn't stick out to me as much whenever I watched this last, but costume design by Eiko Ishioka, who also did The Cell, which was his movie before this, but also did Bram Stoker's Dracula and costume design and production design for Mishima. And I was like, damn, if I'm thinking of like, those have got to be like Mishima, Bram Stoker's Dracula, and The Fall are on some like short list of like coolest looking movies ever as far as like costume design and like overall look. I'm like, she's done all three of those. She's like a fucking all-star in my book.
Yeah.
She rules.
Because there are some like very striking locations in Mishima as well.
Mm-hmm.
In particular, I'm trying to think of like, there's like a golden palace scene.
The Golden Pavilion, yeah.
Yeah. Like just like the reds and the yellows, like the contrasting colors.
Mm-hmm.
And like even like, you know, kind of having the movie pulled up on the side here, go like there's like a few moments, like even in that lush green area, like the guy's wearing like reds and the yellows. I don't know. There's just like how they, you know, color corrected this or whatever.
Yeah.
Everything is just so stark. And
everything
like,
pops and yeah.
Yes.
Which also feels very fairy tale-y, right? Like to kind of, I feel like that's maybe like something like that is like, like color coordinating your heroes. Yeah, I really, the Cell actually is, I haven't seen that one in forever. It's really weird. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, no, I haven't.
Okay. It's really fucking weird, but it's also very visually interesting and striking at the very least. I'm pretty sure I like the movie. I just haven't seen it in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, big ups to Eiko Ishioka. She kicks ass. She's great.
Yeah, because like again, I have the movie pulled up. I'm at the scene where they're like in the desert and like the caravan is there.
Mm-hmm.
And like even just them all riding into the desert, like the red, it almost looks fake. I know it's not, but it almost looks like a digital thing superimposed because it's like you look at it and your brain's like, no, this can't be here. This should not be here. And it is, you know, like how red the caravan is. And like each character is wearing like, I think Luigi, the bomb expert, I think he's wearing like yellow or something like that.
Yeah, he's got the big yellow cloak or whatever.
I do like how elements from the real world are sneakily put into this as well. Like Odious and like all of his henchmen look like the guy in the real world who does like x-rays.
And
it's just funny that like, yeah, obviously that's what this like little girl is going to see because she had a scene earlier where she saw the x-ray guy and he's there to do a job and he like really poses no threat to her, but the costume that he wears is just visually scary. So obviously she's like, that's a scary guy. So like that's what the villain and all of his henchmen are going to wear, even though this guy is basically just doing his job and unfortunately has to wear something like that. That is
right. Yeah.
Intimidating.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very like,
little kid logic.
It's just little kid logic, like Wizard of Oz. Like, you know, it's the, oh, and you were there, and you were there.
Yeah.
'Cause, like, all the people in the crew are people in the real, from the real world. Like, I like how he does the thing where he's like, oh, the hero's your dad, you know, because he has that picture to, like, reference. So he's like, he's the gap-toothed Spaniard or whatever.
Right.
Because, you know, that's what kids would do. They'd like envision their parents as the heroes or whatever. But then eventually she's like, no, I think he talks like you. And then it turns into Lee Pace. Which, yeah, there's fun little things like that. I feel like there's other like items or elements that kind of like play a part. I mean, I guess there's the part where he's like the characters also like the masked bandit characters also like taking pills or like drinking too or something.
I feel like there's almost like it wasn't like exactly like, oh yeah, I just got to a scene where he's taking the pills. I feel like there was also like a match cut near the end where like when he's telling her the rest of the story and she's like laying on the table with her head wrapped and he's like drinking whiskey or whatever. I feel like there's like this really smooth cut where it's like him like leaning against like one of the buildings, like also drinking something out of the bottle, almost to the point where it's like in real life, he lifts it up and then it cuts to the story and he puts it right to his glass and like finishes the action. It's like really smooth.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some, especially, in that last bit where she's like, after she, she's in the head wrap and stuff. They do a lot of stuff where I always like when movies do this where like he'll say his Masked Bandit character will say something and then the reaction shot or the reverse shot will be Alexandria in the hospital or like vice versa. I always like when they do that and it feels very like seamless there. Yeah, which again is crazy because like so Tarsem Singh has done, he's had like a pretty normal standard career after this. Nothing past this has been stuff of interest to me. It's been more like he did one of the like Snow White live action things. He did, I don't know, a bunch of just like kind of movies.
Yeah.
But like cinematographer, the writers, or no, not writer. Yeah, one of the, I don't know. A lot of the people, it's like, who have worked on this is like their biggest movie. And it's like they've done not much else. I'm like, but there's so much like, in my opinion, there's so much skill. It's crazy that like people who worked on this didn't, I mean, and that could be for any number of factors, but this feels like one where you put this on your resume. It's like, oh shit, you worked on that movie? Yeah.
Like, yeah, you're like, yeah, I mean, it's only one movie, but it's like, it's like you're at Roger or Deacon status or something,
Yeah.
It's like, oh shit. Oh, well, I guess in the case of like the costumer, she definitely
yeah, she had she's a different case. Yeah.
Yeah, and that is interesting when, I don't know, when a director kind of, I guess, peaks like early on, where it's just like, this is like the best thing that you'll make. And I mean, it clearly is the most like effort he put into like, I don't know much about his other movies, but I doubt he traveled to like 24 countries or whatever. So like, it's like once you, once you make a name for yourself with this, it's like, okay, well now we're going to hire you to do these other things. And like, I don't know, you're going to have to work within the confines of the system, which means sound stages and green screens and like those limitations.
That's what it feels like after this, where it's like, then he kind of got like studio jobs or whatever. And, maybe, if that works for him, he's probably like, I got to make my passion project. I got to go all over the world filming this movie. I got to make it how I wanted to. Apparently it's all self-financed too, which like is just, it's really cool that you don't see a lot of movies like this that are so like, feel so singularly like one person's vision or whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas like if this was a studio movie, it would not be this. There would be so many, you wouldn't be getting the filming in all the different locations and stuff. And they would probably be like, the story's a little messy. And it's like, yeah, the story's kind of, I think that it's messy on purpose, but they'd be like, I don't know. Like that was a thing that I saw that apparently like Harvey Weinstein like walked out after like 15 minutes of like a pre-screening and like I guess I don't know if this is like really substantiated, but like tried to like sabotage the movie's like distribution or whatever because he like hated what he saw so much because he like said that it didn't make any sense.
Oh my God, what a stupid, dopey bitch.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's ugh. Just because like you produce some of the most iconic movies of all time doesn't mean that like I don't know. It's I think with shit like that, you get so used to like the system of how movies work that you like oh well no, this can't make sense because it has to be this way. It has to be like it's like he knows the formula for like what a successful movie is, and he's like, no, this is like it's to the point where like he doesn't trust the audience to understand it. It's like no, this is far too weird and abstract for a commercial feature. Like this will never make its money back. Like that's all he can think about. In terms of movies is just like, yeah, but what's the return on investment on this?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Which again, I love that anecdote about Miyazaki and Harvey Weinstein. About I think it was Spirited Away, where he sent him a katana and said no cuts.
Oh, there's some more elements from the real world that they do where I think that there was something earlier in the movie that hints at this, but like that when he brings up the Indian in the story, she envisions from India. Because she like works with the one guy and that's like, she puts him in the story, but he meant like a Native American Indian. And then at the end of the movie, when they're watching his movie, there's the part where the character's talking to like a Native American. He's got like the feather, like the really like stereotypical thing. And you see the Native American Indian in the movie do the eyebrow thing that the Indian in the story did the whole time. So it's like, oh, he's kind of pulling from that story. So he filled his fictional story with elements from a different fictional story, which it's a whole like spider's web of like, and I think that's the overall thesis of the movie is just like it's stories in general, like storytelling, like kind of informing and like how stories change and evolve over time and how they feed into one another.
It's like, okay, well, I don't know. It's like you want to dazzle the person you're telling the story to. So you'll like embellish a thing or two here. And then like the next time that person tells a story, they'll tell it that way because that's how they were, like oral traditions, that's how they were told.
Yeah, exactly.
Apparently there was like a lot of the criticisms of this movie is that it's all style, it's all visuals, and like the story itself is like lacking. But I disagree. I mean, I think the story again is like sort of disjointed, but I think it's because you're basically seeing it through the imagination of a child. And I think structurally, I think that works because like you have to put yourself in the shoes of that child and like this is how she sees the world. So I don't know. I kind of went into it thinking like, okay, this is going to be like visually a feast, but it's going to be like kind of lacking in like the storytelling element. And I really don't think it was lacking in that at all.
Yeah, I wouldn't say lacking. I would like, I kind of want to say like, I almost like half agree where I'm like, I do think that it's style over substance, but I don't think that there's no substance or like I still like enjoy the story aspect of it. And it's fun like coming back to something like this that I watched so much as a kid and watching it now and just resonating so much more, or not resonating, that's the wrong word. I haven't tried to kill myself yet. But just like being more invested in the real world stuff. Whereas like when I watched it as a kid, I was like, come on, let's get back to the cool stuff in the desert and shit. But like, I do really like their relationship. The moment where it gets to the store, like where he gives her the note, like, because it's so like nonchalant how the movie kind of presents the like him being like, hey, can you read? And you're like, oh, is he just, oh, this is nice, Roy. nothing afoul yet. He's like, oh, he's gonna have her read a note. Maybe he's sending a note to Nurse Evelyn, something like that.
Yeah.
And then she like spells it out, and you're like, wait a second. And it's just like the way that it kind of takes the darker turns is very like, yep. Now it's
like a betrayal. It's this really cute story, and then it's like he's using her as a mule to get morphine.
Yeah. So yeah, I do think this it seems like at the very least on Letterboxd, this seems to be one of those, like, I feel like there's movies that they kind of get like there should be like a catch-all term for these, like Letterboxd redemption arcs, where, because I think if you go on like Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb, it's like okay ratings. I want to say it's like 60% Rotten Tomatoes or something like that. I want to say it's one of those kind of like near the middle, and it's always kind of been one of those where it's like you said, like, yeah, it's pretty, but there's not much to it. But on Letterboxd, I'm pretty sure it has like a really solid score.
Yeah,
and there's
everyone that I follow like is probably like 3.5 and up.
Mm-hmm.
Like typically 4s and 5s.
Yeah, I'm gonna and I know there's other movies like this. I just can't think of what they are, but I know there's other movies that I've seen like that have had just like a mid like reputation, and they've been out for so long, and then you see like more it's got a 4.2 on Letterboxd, which is really good for Letterboxd.
Yeah, I feel like most things average out at like 3.7 or 3.8 or something like that. That's pretty high.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, like high 3 is like a really good score for a movie on there, I think. So yeah, so it's interesting.
I wonder what that is. Like I'm trying to think of, like, this came out in 2006.
Mm-hmm.
So like, maybe it's like a newer generation is seeing it for the first time. Maybe like
Could be something like that.
A less jaded, less irony pilled generation of people seeing it, or maybe someone just like being swept up in the simple story. I don't know.
Yeah,
it is interesting to see that. I mean, I don't know if it's like directly a 1-to-1 comparison, but like I remember reading that when something like Fire Walk with Me came out, that movie was like hated.
Mm-hmm.
Like to the point where like I think even like David Lynch was like, I don't know if he was considering ending his career, but like never wanted to make something like that again, because like the vitriol for that movie was so high. And now it's considered, one of his best, and like one of the best, movies, like installments in that series. And like the ideas that he had in that movie, people came around on it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I don't know, maybe people came around on The Fall. I don't know.
Maybe.
I'm really curious about that.
He did like commercial work. I think that's mainly like what he did. I don't know if he still does. Like he's like one of those like commercial music video directors. And he said that he was like only accepting commercial work in locations, or like in countries where he wanted to do location scouting. And then like he would they would shoot scenes for this movie with like the same crew that he used for the commercials. So he found ways to save money, but it still is like, it still had to be a lot of shit out of pocket. So
that's funny. Yeah, I think we should do this. I think we should do this music video in India, very specifically at these stairs.
Yeah. Well, hey, here's the thing. Like, maybe he was doing it for some location scouting, but if I was like in a band and like, wanted to do a music video, and he like recommended any of these locations, I'd be like, that looks really cool. Yeah, let's do that.
Like, yep, absolutely. Let's see. I think I'm sitting I think I'm sitting at like a either a low 8 or a strong 7. That's I'm gonna say 8.
Okay.
Visually, I thought this was remarkable. Instantly has like just a look that is so unique. Again, just because he is using like all of these like natural like wonders of the world type locations that are so striking that, you know, even if you don't particularly love the story, like again, the visuals are insane enough that it's like worth it, especially like with the costume choices too. Like everything about it is like so beautifully done. And you know, if you do like the story, even better. I thought the relationship with Lee Pace and Alexandria was very cute, very, you know, tragic at times. I think it does a good job of dealing with that that type of material well. Like I guess the more like kind of darker adult material of like this guy who kind of wants to die, but he's like talking to this little girl, and then I don't know. I think it weaves those ideas like pretty well. Like it's not too dark that like you could show this to a kid and they would understand it, but it wouldn't be like scary or bad or, you know, upsetting, I guess. So yeah, all that to say, yeah, it's very, very cool. It's a very cool movie that is, like Roger Ebert said, worth watching just for those elements alone. So
yeah, I'm right there. I think I go with a low 8 for it. But at the same time, it's like a movie that I love, but because and like I said, there is a lot that I do love about the story aspect of it too. And where I don't agree with the whole, like, people who said that, because I mean, I heard that before as like a common criticism that it's like an empty movie. Like, I don't agree with that at all. But if I do have one big criticism with the movie, it is the story. But I don't think that the story is devoid of, you know, any substance or, you know, interesting things. I really like the stuff in the hospital. I feel like both, I mean, I guess it's a little more okay with the fairy tale, obviously. But like it ends very abruptly, and it's kind of like the ending is just a little choppy for me, just the way that it kind of jumps around. But I will say it does kind of bring it back with, I love a good, like, aren't movies so cool, like, clip show at the end, like that'll always like get me, you know what I mean? It gets to that part and it brings back the Beethoven song, and there's all the clips of like,
yeah,
again, like, I mean, the only ones that I recognized were Buster Keaton, and then there was like one Harold Lloyd clip they showed. But every time I'm like, oh, that's great. Oh my god, it's even in like the few seconds that you get get like, how it's fucking insane the stuff that they would do back then.
Yeah,
so probably like the two steam trains just run into each other and just crumple just for a shot in a movie.
Just for a shot in the movie.
There's like the guy on the back of the car, and there's like the helicopter flying overhead with the little like string ladder, and he like jumps off the car onto the ladder and like climbs up and stuff. It's crazy. But yeah, any sort of like that, like, you know, way to end it is it's a cheap way to kind of win my heart. So that does kind of bring me back. And like I like how her narration kind of like fades out and you just see the clips, and then she comes back, and how she's, you know, how that just feeds back into like, and I saw Roy and everyone and stuff. And
yeah.
This also, I didn't mention before, the movie comes through on its promise of the fall, because I don't know if that was intentional, but there's a lot of falling in this movie. There's plenty of like slow-mo, like people falling off of things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you get plenty of that. And then yeah, obviously the look and everything. It's really cool. Very cool looking movie.
Did you see Babylon?
Yes, I almost mentioned that when I was saying
the
ending part.
The very end.
Yeah, similar vibes to that. Yeah, the way that one wraps up. But this one doesn't have Avatar, I guess. It's like stop
or like
when
the
you
Matrix.
Get to like the 60s or 70s. Stop there, and then my nostalgia is just like, wait, now it's weird. Now it's
Yeah.
I like some of those movies, but it doesn't have the same effect. I don't know. It's just
and at least in this one, it works in the context of Roy is a stuntman, so it's like
Yeah, and it feeds Again, it feeds into the whole her talking about like how I never saw Roy again, but then I saw him in the movies and
right.
Did you want to talk about movies from last year sort of thing, or movies we saw last year?
So these are things that we saw last year for the first time. That doesn't have to be from that year.
Right.
But just like things that you saw that year for the first time.
Yes.
Yeah, I can do that.
That's the idea. Okay.
I just have my letterbox like diary up. So I'll be like kind of scrolling through and like maybe, I guess, highlighting a few.
I am very OCD with letterbox, so I have a list, an organized list for it. But yeah, I guess otherwise you do have to just kind of.
I had a list going, like stuff I saw in 2024, and eventually I got 54.
Okay.
For
just period or new stuff?
Just period.
Okay.
But I definitely watched more than 54.
I'll say my lowest, so number 176. And these are, I'll say too, this list that I did it after the year had ended because I only thought to do like a ranked thing after the fact. So these aren't like 100% accurate ratings. I just kind of like filtered by my letterboxd rating. So all of like the half-star ones were grouped together. All of the one-star ones were grouped together. And then I just kind of like retroactively was like, I think I liked this one more. I think I liked this one less, sort of thing. So the one I have at the very bottom is inappropriate comedy, which I was like, that feels right.
That is like, that's bedrock. That's like the...
I only have 4 half-star movies, and 3 of them we watched for the show.
So, awesome. Great.
It was that one, Rhapsody Street Kids, After Last Season, and Black Christmas. So the most recent Black Christmas, I should say.
Okay.
Those are my half-star movies.
I've got a few 1 stars. The 3 50 Shades movies.
Oh yeah, I forgot you watched those this year. Yeah.
Sinister Squad is a 1 star.
That one's down there. I think I gave that a star. Yep.
Some of the ones for duds I don't necessarily like write in a star rating.
Yeah.
Like,
that's fair.
But those ones are pretty low. I mean, Leonard Part 6 would probably be like near the bottom. Even though I weirdly had some affection for Leonard Part 6.
Yeah, I did too. Yeah.
Christmas with the Cranks was really low for me. That movie is like one of the most mean-spirited kind of pieces of shit I've ever seen. I don't know if we talked about it like during any of our Christmas episodes. But like,
I don't remember if it was on, but we at least talked about it. Because then I was like, I kind of want to watch that again. And then I asked Kalia, I was like, have you seen Christmas with the Cranks? She's like, yeah, I don't want to watch that movie again.
Yeah, that movie, like the subtext of that movie is like kill your local HOA board. Like that's yeah, because the whole premise is just like conform. Yeah, that's right. We were talking about it. We were like, conform. Don't do anything different. You have to do it. Everything that like, yeah.
Because the whole thing is just like they just don't want to like celebrate Christmas. They don't want to like do all the lights and stuff. That's like the whole thing. And then they're just like hounded by their entire neighborhood about it or whatever.
Yeah, pretty much. Dan Aykroyd is like leading the charge. I'm like, there's like a big Frosty that every other person puts on their roof, and they're like, save Frosty, put him on your roof now, do it. It's like just so evil. Looking back, the first movie I watched last year, literally on January 1st, 2024, was Beau is Afraid, and I would put that
nice.
I would put that near the top of my my list for that year. Same with Poor Things. I saw Beau is Afraid, Poor Things.
That's near the top for me, yeah.
Existenz, I think I would put pretty high up there. That was a cool screening. That movie was... Oh, there's inappropriate comedy. I'm going to give that a 0.5 star right now. There it is.
Yeah, I had to double check, but I was right. My going by... Because like I said, mine was in like my, somewhat ranked list. But I did by diary date. And actually, funnily enough, my number 1 is the first thing that I logged to. I think it was maybe on January 1st. It's the only thing I gave a 10 out of 10 or 5 star to, which is not a movie, but it's Pokemon Concierge, the like stop motion animated show for Netflix. And I probably stand by that. It fucking rules. It's one of those just like a perfect little like happy sunshiny like happy place show, but it's great. And then my number 1 movie that I watched this year that I have is from 2024. It's Challengers. So I've got that at a 4.5. Poor Things at number 4. I have 7 Chances at number 3, which is a Buster Keaton movie.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very good.
I'd probably put some of those Buster Keaton movies up there for sure.
Oh, I mean, sure, yeah. The others would be had I not already seen them. 7 Chances I just hadn't seen before.
Some of the higher rated ones that I have, Dream Scenario, I have at 4.5. Nice. Dream Scenario was really cool. Anatomy of a Fall, I really liked Anatomy of a Fall.
Yeah, that one's good. I must have seen Dream Scenario last year because I'm almost positive I gave that like a 4.5.
Yeah.
4.
I gave Dune Part 1 a 4. For what it's worth, I can hardly remember any part of it, but I do think that was one where I was like taken in by the spectacle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really, really cool looking movie. Have you seen the second one?
No, we've been meaning to watch it.
It's pretty cool. I put it, for me, it's on like the same level. So if you like the first one, you'll like the second one for sure.
Yeah. Civil War, I gave 4 stars. I know that movie is like kind of stupid, but it worked for me. Mm-hmm. I mean, I saw it in IMAX too, which I think helped because that is a very like visceral sounding movie. Mm-hmm. So like seeing that on like a big ass screen and just hearing bullets whiz by your head essentially was like really cool. And I think what elevated that movie for me and probably brought it up maybe an entire star was the sequence right after the Jesse Plemons scene, after the dude gets shot. That's like the guy that's in like every A24 movie. Stephen that guy,
McKinley. Yeah, I can almost think of his name. Yeah.
The scene like directly after that when they're like driving through the woods and you see like fireflies, but then it's like everything's on fire.
Okay, yeah. I remember
that. It plays a Sturgill Simpson song called Breaker's Roar, and that is like my favorite song like of his entire like catalog. So it was like, I don't know, it sent me just hearing that song, and like the visuals of that scene was like I loved that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you have this one on your 2024 list or maybe you've seen it before, but Talented Mr. Ripley was another one that I saw for the first time in 2024 that was like awesome.
Yeah, that's my number 5. I gave that one a 4.5 too. Yeah, I thought that movie was awesome. Yeah. Never finished that Netflix show. I just couldn't get into it, which is a bummer.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, my other, since I've almost listed them all because I don't have a lot. My only 5 stars at Pokemon Concierge, and then my 4.5 stars are Challengers, 7 Chances, Poor Things, Talented Mr. Ripley, Thelma, which is from 2024, Blackberry, and then that Love, Death, and Robots episode.
I saw people talking about Blackberry. That's like Glenn Howerton.
Yeah. And Jay Baruchel. Yeah.
Is that like a comedy, drama, mostly comedy?
Dramedy. Yeah. It's
okay.
Yeah, it would be more fitting in like the Golden Globe comedy category than a lot of other ones that were this year.
Is it like a comedy in the sense that like Honora is a comedy where it's like there's some funny elements in it, but it's not like...
No, it's definitely comedic. I don't think it's just like... I don't think it's just has some jokes. I think it's definitely a comedy, but it's also like... It's a good mix of both, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
But yeah, great. They're both of the leads are like awesome in their roles, and just the dialogue is great. It's just so funny. It's like this super, and I mean, they were big at the time, but it's like it's kind of funny. This like super serious, like social networky sort of like intense. Movie about something that like doesn't exist anymore, and it's almost
like
just
some
like
archaic
a joke
piece of,
or like footnote.
Dude, I'm like, I don't think I would ever not absolutely like love and adore The Social Network, but recent stuff about Mark Zuckerberg,
like on Joe Rogan. Oh my god, where he's dressing like a middle schooler.
Where I'm like, don't take The Social Network from me. Like if that movie could have came out and then like Facebook went away, that's like the perfect like bow on like a story. And now it's like you make like The Social Network 2 and half of it is in the metaverse with those weird so like funny.
David Fincher's first sequel.
Yeah, right.
That'd be so fucking sweet. I mean, at least he's not supposed to be a good guy in the movie. So it's like him just being an increasingly shitty person in real life. It's just like, I mean, you can kind of see that happening.
Yeah, pretty much. Another first watch for me was Godzilla 1954.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
That was a hell of an experience.
I've got a lot
really like that one.
I have a handful of new Godzillas that make.
Oh yeah, you did.
List.
I feel like for a period of time, every time I would open Letterboxd, there would be another Godzilla movie that you reviewed or rated.
There's I mean, ever since like -1 came out, I was kind of like, I get in these headspaces where like a lot of times with like video games, like I'm doing it with Castlevania now, where I'm like, where I just kind of set my mind to like, I'm supposedly a big fan of this series, so I should actually like watch all of them, or I should actually play all the games, So I'm working my way through Castlevania, and I'm like, I need to actually watch all the Godzilla movies. I think there's 40 total, and I've watched
crazy.
I mean, I've watched more that I haven't watched in this rewatch, but I'm planning on rewatching all of them, like even the ones that I've seen before, and I'm like roughly halfway now. But they were like the perfect kind of movies to watch when I started building like miniature kits. I forgot if I posted them in like any of the group chats or whatever, but I started, it's just kind of like a little hobby that I've taken up. So I build these little mini kits, and I got my desk, and then I put on a movie, and Godzilla's like a perfect kind of movie to put on when you're like doing something like that. I'm like in my top like 20, 30, 40. I don't know. I mean, I feel like I like a fair amount of these. I'm like, yeah, those were solid movies that I would watch again. Like, I would say almost like close to like half of the movies that I saw where I was like, yeah, are on like pretty good scale. We got Happiness, the Katakuris. No, you like that one.
Ooh. Oh yeah.
Celebration, that one's up there for me too.
Oh yeah.
That was really good. First Omen and Black Christmas. Those are the ones that I have as those are my highest rated horror movies, I guess, since we were looking at those.
Yeah, I do want to watch Black Christmas because, like, after I saw your review of it, like, I'm like, that sounds great.
Yeah, it was really cool. Oh, and then another non-movie that's high on my list is The Curse, which you got to finish.
Shit, yes, I do need to finish that. Well, I did resubscribe to Paramount Plus to watch the Golden Globes, so maybe we can give that another shot.
Speaking of resubscribing, Apple TV, because I'm gonna watch. I want to watch Severance.
Yeah.
Did you start that yet? Or?
Yeah. We rewatched like all of season 1 in the span of like a week and a half, and man, that show was great. Yeah, this show is so good. I've actually been there's an accompanying podcast that came out with it that's Ben Stiller and Adam Scott, and they like do a breakdown of each episode, and they've had guests on, like they've had basically all the main cast on except for Patricia Arquette and Christopher Walken. But they've had like Zach Cherry on, John Turturro's been on. They just had Terrell Tillman, Milchick.
He's the chubby dude.
No, Mr. Milchick. He's the guy that like he does the dance party with them.
Oh, okay.
the guy that's like kind of like the boss,
second in command, kind of.
Yeah. Season 2, episode 1. Pretty good.
Good
pretty
so
good.
Far. Sweet.
Interesting. My main concern with the show is that it won't be able to hold up under like all of the, like, I feel like the first season is like so perfectly crafted that it's like if you add more things it starts to balloon out, and I'm like, I don't want it to like get crushed under its own weight of its own like lore, or if like it turns out that like what they're doing at Lumen is something like, I don't know, just like a cheap cop out. I don't know. I'm like,
they're making NFTs.
Oh my god. This is how AI has been powered. It's them down there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fun to have like another show that's like a weekly show that you can kind of like talk about and theorize and discuss. So very, very, very excited for the upcoming season.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that's good to hear that the first, that at least so far is good. Yeah, I need to get on that. Just got it. That's one that we gotta kind of get re-up for. So
yeah,
that's why it hasn't happened yet. One of probably like the most anticipated show for me for this year.
Oh yeah,
I can't really think of anything else that's coming out this year show wise.
Yeah,
maybe I don't know. There's got to be something.
Apparently, there are some really good shows on Apple TV Plus. Like I've heard that Shrinking show is really good. The one with Harrison Ford and
Jason
other guy,
Segel.
Jason Segel. I've heard that show is really good.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They've got a couple things. They got the Godzilla show. I do want to watch that. With Kurt Russell and his son playing, like, they play like the same character, which is kind of cute.
Oh.
Like, Wyatt Russell plays, like, he plays him in like it's like takes place in like the 1970s and the present day or whatever. So they play,
he's like oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, did Ian Holm have any kids? Why didn't they call him up?
Yeah, really. Yeah.
Yeah, Jack Nicholson's son was in that Smile movie, and he was essentially doing the
Kubrick's there or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard that was good. Smile 2.
I heard people say that about the first. Look, I haven't seen either of them, but I just don't know if those movies are for me. Because, like, I don't think I can take them seriously. Because I don't think people smiling is scary.
Yeah, it is a very dumb, like, premise. Like, oh, he's smiling. But it's like, it looks like he's happy, but it's not because he's scary.
It's just one of those things that, like, some people think like dolls are scary.
Yeah,
I don't think dolls are scary. There's just some things like that. There's a part in particular in the trailer that I would always see at the theater that I would laugh like out loud at it so much. There's a part where she's like looking in the mirror and there's like somebody standing behind her, and then it does a jump cut and the person behind her does this, like pulls their fingers up to make it look like she's smiling, and her eyes are like she's scared, and it just looks so fucking silly. It looks so ridiculous. So, but I mean, yeah, like I said, I've heard that those movies are supposed to be good. They just it looks like a like Truth or Dare to me.
Yeah.
Or I don't know, just kind of it feels like one of those like similarly premise, like, oh, what if it was?
It feels like a Blumhouse movie, like one of those like schlocky, like 4 movies in one horror night DVD packs or something.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we're back to Dud Week.
Back to Dud Week. After, last one was Rap City. Now.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Oh, okay. From 2003, directed by Bo Welch, The Cat in the Hat.
Oh shit!
This is a little different. This is a little more like high tier, like high grade. Like, it has people that in it.
Yeah.
It was released in theaters.
I saw this in theaters, I'm pretty sure.
I saw this once as a kid. I don't remember like anything about it. Other than like, what was in the trailers or whatever.
I'm pretty sure like when we went to go see it, my parents were not impressed because I think there were a lot of innuendo style jokes that they understood and we didn't, and they were like, this should not have been a children's movie.
So anyways, that sounds good.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be spoiled for that movie before next episode, these episodes, watch it or whatever. These episodes come out on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. EST on YouTube in video form, as well as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. We also have social pages on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok.
We didn't, but then we did. It's back.
Oh, right. Yeah. Sketch, yeah. If we'd have recorded this a couple days ago, I would have had to...
we are back on TikTok, thanks only to the 47th president of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
Yeah. Great. I'm glad at the state of the world that we live in.
The like the end of the podcast. Like, yeah. So thanks for coming on. Do you have anything to plug? Yeah, I like to plug Donald Trump. I like to plug the president. You know.
This podcast is around because of him. In a way, you could say it is, because this kind of came about during COVID, and probably the reason that, you know, he helped us be stuck in that for a while longer than we needed to, maybe, you know.
Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah, you know. So maybe. And with all that said, I am your paralyzed stuntman whose name is Roy Walker. And with me as always.
As always,
that was kind of funny.
I'm gonna go get myself some MORPHIN3.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna take a nap, but it's sugar pills. I'm not dead.
You can sleep off the next few years.
Yep.